Tonight we will go deep into the realm of the unknown and question everything as we search for the truth. We will explore the possibility of countless phenomenon within the ultraspectrum, and together we will learn that it is all connected. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencer Support Association, and it is a live stream broadcast. If you have a question, send me a super chat or become a YouTube member. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencer Support Association. Take a seat, relax, get ready, and welcome to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat.
Hello, everybody. Today is Thursday, March 10th, 2022, and I, Ryan Stacey, am your host this evening. I'm a licensed private investigator, a citizen journalist, and the director of investigations for the Experiencer Support Association. I am the former national chief investigator for MUFON Canada and the former international field investigator trainer for MUFON in general. Welcome to the channel, and thank you for joining us this evening. To super chat, just click the $sign next to your name in the comment box. And if you're in the observation deck, we are inside the Experiencer Hall, so I can see you right here. Go in, put in your comments and questions in the chat box, and I'll include you into the show. Tonight's theme is humanity and diplomatic contact with extraterrestrial beings. Our guest for season 4, episode 8, is Sylvain Rochon. Did I say that right? He's laughing. I was practicing this in the back. Anyway, Sylvain is the co-founder and vice president of the Alliance for Extraterrestrial Diplomatic Contact, AEDC, a Canadian futurist and a serial entrepreneur in technology. His companies include a psychometric company called CykoMetrix, the Canadian Institute of Mass Communication, and the think tank Intellectual. He's been an educator for over 20 years, and through his initiatives, Sylvain attempts to change how humanity thinks of itself. It is his mission to help humanity transition towards a golden age of understanding in which we will start having regular official contacts with extraterrestrial civilizations to help prepare humanity for this big leap. Sylvain has published dozens of articles in multiple online magazines, including Data-Driven Investor and Becoming Human and Director Today. In 2018, published a non-fiction book entitled Engineering Paradise, Are You Ready? Sylvain holds a bachelor degree in biochemistry, chemical engineering, and education, and lives in Ottawa, Canada. There's a lot of information here which he was withholding because I've been talking to him for a very long time, and a lot of these things that I was unaware of. So I'm very happy about that. So we're going to get into those tonight. So Sylvain, put on your tinfoil hat. How are you doing this evening?
How am I doing with the hat?
You're doing great. You're rocking.
I should have brought a hat.
How you doing?
I'm doing really great. That's a good intro, and thanks for inviting me here. This is really amazing, and it's important what you do.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. Just so everybody knows, this show is going to be an hour and a half because he has another commitment to head over to, but we will do a after chat afterwards, so please stick around. So our icebreaker question from Cece tonight is, if you were presented the opportunity to travel into space, would you? And if yes, where would like to go, and why?
The answer is absolutely yes. I've dreamt about this for many years. There are risks involved in today traveling in space with using our engines, but I don't really mind the destination. Like, it would be anywhere. I would be satisfied with the moon, Mars. I would not go to Venus because death if you try to land there, but just the experience of seeing Earth from space in itself is transformative, and the very practice of setting feet, let's say, on another stellar body, even if it's the moon, the closest, which is about 3 days away ride, would be fantastic, right?
Good answer. I think for me, I would just like to just go to space in general, just to prove once and for all we could get there for myself, and then I would just take a look down to verify that what I see is what we're shown, and then go from there. So there's a lot of CGI out there with NASA, so it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to,
yeah, you got to experience it for yourself to really be sure, right?
Science is there, but anyways, we're not going to go there. Anyways, so no, that's great. So great question, CC. Thank you so much for that. The first question I always ask is, of course, why are you the way that you are? And what I mean by that is how did you get to get to where you are today? Like what created you? How did this start?
Well, there's essentially two things in this. One part of me is I have no idea where it comes from. Like, it certainly doesn't come from either of my parents. I, at a very young age, for some reason I can't fathom, just like inside me, I wanted to save the world, and to quote myself when I was younger, to the point where when I was about 12 to 13 years old, I started having heavy migraines, in part because I had a severe anxiety due to my incapacity or powerlessness to actually affect any change. Right. Okay. So I already had that inside me, and it's not a learned behavior. At least I don't nobody thinks it was. It's just kind of born that way for some reason. So so that's always been with me. That kind of idea that I must somehow affect positive change into the world, which I think propelled me in my later years to become what I call myself, the Paradise Engineer. Right, to this moniker that describes what I try to do in the world, right, to engineer a better future. But of course, some of it has been completely learned. I've actually had amazing parents and surroundings. I was raised in a small town outside of Ottawa, in a very small village, less than 1,000 people, lots of cows, wholesome environment, countryside, good air, good exercise, all that stuff. And my mother was an educator. My father was working hard, driving buses, nothing too special, but just good upbringing, very healthy and free. I was let loose to think and be who I wanted to be. So again, I applaud both my parents for basically just more guiding me than directing me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And thankfully, I had I have a good mind, so I did good grades, went to university, studied a bunch of degrees in a very short amount of time, which was very useful because I don't like school. So doing my degrees in a shorter amount of time was, having the ability to do that was great. Got out of that, started working in something completely different from what I thought, because I thought I was going to be a scientist, save the world that way, so to speak. Ended up teaching. By happenstance, really. Fell in love with that because I didn't know I enjoyed that, and then got my degree in the education. And ever since, I've been in some way in the education. I still am. Right now in this podcast, that's still, to me, it's performance and education, right? You're educating people about something, some concept or some. And I love talking about the future, talking about science and scientific fact, and also sort of research and knowledge and understanding the universe and all that stuff.
Great. No, and I sense that too. And as I mentioned before with the conversations we had leading up to this, that's information you withheld. And you know what? And as a fact checker, that it makes sense to your character too. Because I totally can see that. I'm not surprised, even though I never asked and it was never mentioned. I'm happy to hear that. The part I'm missing is how that led you to extraterrestrial. So have you had any extraterrestrial or paranormal contact prior to what we're about to get into tonight?
Well, that's I find that peculiar. Like in my case, I have never had any kind of UFO or ET experience whatsoever. I dream about it. I'd love to have something like that happen. I think it would be really cool. But that's not something that has happened to me. I've met others that have. But when I was about 13 years old, again, I'm living in the countryside, right? And this is 80s, in the 80s. Yeah, that makes sense. So no internet, that's, you got your corded phone and your neighbors. That's basically in libraries. Like that's your source of information, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, my father was separated from my mom at the time already, but good relationship, so no problems. Brings home these books, and I was reading basically anything under the sky. Right, I was like about space, science, philosophy, ancient history, basically anything. Just reading everything I could, and even then, I was trying to figure out what's the universe, where do we come from, like the fundamental questions a person asks herself. And I of course I went into the paranormal, right? So ghosts and ETs and whatever else, because that's part of the universe, it's part of the language. Do they exist? And I was asking myself all these questions, and I was being educated to be a scientist. So I was asking what I think was the right question, like what is the evidence, and how strong evidence there is, something that you definitely would understand, being evidence-based type of thinker. And then my father brings home these books, and books written by at the time guy called Claude Vorion, who called himself Rael, right? Brought this home, and he kind of like said, this is really cool. Like I read these, I believe this person had a contact with an extraterrestrial, and it happened like this extraterrestrial is Yahweh. It's from the Bible, and they created life. And he kind of tells me like a summary of the story. It's like, wow, that's really interesting. Because that's an explanation, right? Like as you look at old scripture, the Torah, Bible, I mean, they are.
I like how you said that's an explanation, meaning one explanation, not the explanation.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, because I mean, if you have the learning of a scientist or the process, then having one proof or one explanation doesn't mean that's it, right? You have to explore and investigate to see, well, are there other explanations? And so anyway, so I was curious. So I read those books, and I thought, well, that kind of puts all the puzzles pieces kind of all together. But it's just somebody writing a book, right? It's not it's not like I have tangible evidence or anything. Especially in this case, this person didn't take any evidence, just wrote basically the books. So it just made sense to me, but it's not a proof of anything. But that book, because there was ETs in it, right? And kind of a origin story for humanity and life and all that stuff. Most of it was in tune with my true self, which what I described earlier, which is, well, what about humanity? Where are we going, right? And the book describes like a way of living, like meditation, well-being, and how we should think, how we should treat each other, love each other. Like a lot of the same things we've learned from religion or grandma, like really positive things. So it kind of appealed to me as a whole, and I started hanging out with my father and some of the other people that were kind of circling in that philosophy, which is called the Raelian philosophy or Raelian movement, and otherwise. So that path got me into a lot more into the ET thinking space. These people in those books, and then I started reading more and more about that. I got involved because it's more of an activist group in a way that has a kind of a mission to bring humanity into a new era, which is what I was really aligned with, like as a person. And one of the projects inside that philosophy, one of the main instructions that you will build an embassy for ETs. Which is a pretty cool concept, but at the time it was just like kind of like an interesting concept. Had no basis into like scientific or an interest in reality at the time. But over the years, like I kept being involved, and I did my own research, and I kept being a scientist and being an educator and all that stuff. And especially like the last few years, I kind of noticed like, wait a minute. Building the ET embassy has always been something I've been working on a little bit, but off to the side, not my focus, right? It says, well, we're at the time, it seems, where this is probably close to happening. Like there's something going on. There seems to be a lot more apparitions, more like reports, and I kept meeting other people that where there was some kind of a synergy in the discussion. And so I talked with the person that leads the actual project within the Raelian movement, the ET Embassy project. Like, we raised like $50 million US of funds and over donations over many years, and they were kind of leading. I said, look, I think we should do something more. We should do something for everybody, right? Like, set up another organization that's outside, and just like bring a bunch of people in, right? And kind of work towards that. And I talked about this a little bit. That's, what the big thing here, like in humanity, is the mindset is still pretty primitive, in my view. We have to kind of evolve as a civilization. And so most of the effort is, of course, there's mechanical efforts to actually build a tangible building with the funds that we raise and all that stuff. But also it's transformative change for humanity, which is interesting. So that's where I am now.
Okay, so we're going to get into that to be a lot more specific details, because I know what you're talking about, but these people do not. So I'm assuming what we're talking about is the Alliance for Extraterrestrial Diplomatic Contact, AEDC. So tell me a bit about the work you're doing with them, and what is the AEDC mission?
Right. So so this started, I believe, January 2021. So just over a year ago. It's not long. That's when I had the discussion with Daniel. Say, hey, like, let's do this. And simultaneously, he had the same thought. Well, that makes sense. We have to, as humanity, we have to kind of organize this globally for everybody without any kind of attachments and whatnot with any organization outside. Just make it universal, agnostic. Let's just build the friggin' thing, right? And get, as a civilization, get to officially build a structure that all the nations would be in agreement with, would acknowledge under the Vienna Convention to as an actual embassy, like a practical embassy that does diplomatic missions according to the Vienna Convention, right? So let's build that. That's the website that you're seeing there for the conference in October. But definitely, we'll talk more about the conference itself, I think, a little bit later. But yeah, that's one of our main activities this year. But yes, that is the embassy, the original plans for the embassy. Thank you, Ryan, for showing the pics. And it has a certain design, and it's a bit like futuristic, which I like, and all these elements for living quarters, and also, of course, different atmospheres and whatnot. We are building. We are almost ready to release new blueprints, by the way. For this, like, updated with a team of architects. But in essence, like, I got with him. It's like, okay, let's do this. This must be a project for the whole humanity, not just one group, right? So that was the kernel of that. So I elaborated a strategy. I said, okay, well, let's make it a network of organizations, because the Raelian movement is one organization that's already been championing this since 1974. That's great. But then there's other organizations out there that must also be thinking the same way. That would think it would be cool, and it would be maybe smart at this time. And now that a majority of people do realize, we probably aliens, or let's say, call it extraterrestrials, do exist. Intelligent life is out there, and it's there. And a decent portion of the population believe that we may be visited by these. This is a shift. Only just a few years ago, it was very different statistically, right? So that's where the timing is correct. It's like, okay, well, let's see which organizations are out there. And we started contacting and we're doing the research with a few volunteers at first. And after like less than 6 months, we had like I think 12 organizations that part of the network that are supporting the initiative. It was like nearly 500,000 supporters already. within those networks that were like keen on seeing the project succeed and willing. And we had other volunteers from different groups joining to do different things. So now the alliance is still a collection of volunteers, but from all sorts of paths of life and groups, from all over the world. We all want to have the same thing. We want to see this project succeed. We want an embassy to be built correctly according to UN protocols and accepted by most nations of the world, and so as the de facto first official ET embassy on Earth.
So why is it important for you to do this work, and how is that going to help humanity?
Well, you got it right. Like, my focus is about humanity and bring it to a golden age, right? The arrival of an ET civilization is not in itself the solution to our problems. That's something I know, and I think it's just logic from a perspective, the perspective of the extraterrestrials. Like, I'm a big Roddenberry fan. I'm assuming many here that are listening probably are, or at least science fiction fans. If you are, then you know from the Next Generation, Star Trek, Next Generation, there is such a thing as the Prime Directive, right? And in the Prime Directive, it means like if you meet other civilizations, you can't interfere with their advancements in culture, right? Until they are ready, as a society, to accept like another civilization to arrive from the sky, and meet without causing hubbub and destruction and fanatism and all that stuff. Well, in this case, we are the primitives. And sometimes in some years, we call ourselves primitives because we think we're a bunch of idiots sometimes, right? Because we do things as societies that are not very wise at times. So
I'll stay tight-lipped on that one. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know I'm trying to be positive. Okay.
No, and I like it and I love it. That's exactly this is what we need. Like I feel, especially with everything that's been happening and things we talked about in the past about challenges, because we need to to bring this together. I feel like this is opportunity to, if extraterrestrial exists, this is a positive energy to invest into showing them that if there's ever a time that we could be ready, or any people that a group of people that are ready to receive, then this is where and this is who, because so it's not ruined for the rest of us, because there's bad apples out there, but perhaps contact could be made to some of us. And I kind of feel like this direction will allow the opportunity, if they exist, to meet.
Well, yeah. And, for me, the embassy itself, and just logistically, building a building with funds, that's easy. And anybody can do it. And in fact, there's plenty of places in the world where they have landing pads and they have like so-called embassies that are like, people acquire land, build a building, and say, well, this is it. I mean, it's not recognized by anybody. It's not extraterritorial like a real embassy or anything like that, but that's easy, right? The challenge for our project is that it needs to be a recognized embassy by nations and nation states and the UN, ideally. And that's a big challenge, because you got to get them involved in the conversation and accepting that this is a possibility. For politicians, that's kind of sticking your neck out even now today, right? But in the journey, for my personal purpose, in the journey towards making that more difficult path happen, means that we have the conversation among us about unification, about how are we displaying ourselves to others that may be watching, and so on. How do we get wiser and more loving and compassionate with each other, like going beyond the infantile conflicts that we keep seeing cropping up here and there. And that's the really interesting part of this entire project, because just like the Prime Directive, if we have some that are watching, and I do believe they are, they don't need to be in orbit to watch us either. Like if if you have, like, I don't know if you can do comparison with how exponential science works. Any civilization that's 100 years or more advanced than we are, which is a tiny amount of time, they can probably watch us from their solar system wherever they are. Like, we're able to detect the type of atmospheres on exoplanets thousands of light years away now.
Right.
Right. In 100 years, what are we going to be able to do? You see what I mean? So we are the primitives. So the challenge is like wisening up humanity while building a project. You have an objective, building the embassy under those specs that gives you kind of a goal, right? And we're all unified. We work with the alliance. We gather support. Yeah, that's the village and the embassy in the middle. It's hard to say because it's fairly big. And we're gathering steam. We're communicating. We're kind of advocating for unification, and everybody from every nation is kind of working together for the same goal of meeting an ET civilization. And in that process, hopefully, is that we will be wiser through the process. And then in 2000, when the embassy will be built, which should be around 2030-ish, there's a few steps that need to happen before that. It's not just the construction and steps with the UN take time. I don't know if you noticed they don't move very fast.
Anything political does.
Maybe we'll develop that enough wisdom to have a chance of having somebody come in, and there would be a symbol, the embassy itself, which could also be practical for them to come and officially meet people under our rules and our understanding, which are still kind of primitive. So because our leaders will want a place, ETs don't need a place.
No,
but we'll need one.
But we will need one, so it makes sense for us, because that's what we need to understand and comprehend at this primitive, as you say, level. And what I find fascinating about this, and again, I'll go back to recent drama, that's been happening, while all this negative is happening, meanwhile you're focusing on something so beautiful and so positive, and yet you want the same interaction in which a lot of people are using negative enforcement to try to enforce contact, or at least confirmation of such. So when you talk about the extraterrestrials' perspective, taking in consideration that they have feelings and choices and all this other stuff too, possibly why not? Where would they rather? What type of people would they rather come to? Yeah. So you're creating a home or a safe place within the home to allow that to happen if it's possible. So if, and that being a man of science as you are, we have to use ifs. So if they exist, chances are, on a balance of probability, it's more likely that they could go to something like that, the positive side, than towards those who are actively putting a thing in it. So as far as energy goes, I would much rather put my energy towards supporting something like this than the way that I've spent my energy in the past. So if you could choose, what would be the best way to communicate with an extraterrestrial, and why? So this is all set up. We're there. We need to get them there. How would you do that?
For me, it's like I'm kinesthetic, so I want to touch. Right. So like a ET phone home, great. I'll take anything, but preferred, I would love to have a face-to-face encounter and have a chat, because then you get to feel just like a human being, right? You get to feel the other person. You get a good sense of them, because this is about as alien as we've ever gotten, right? Like notwithstanding people that may come and visit Canada from Guatemala. I mean, that's alien to me. I mean, it's a different culture and all that stuff. But this is civilization that comes from an entirely separate part of the universe or the galaxy. So yeah, I'd definitely want to face-to-face meet, have a meal, whatever.
In this third dimension, what about what about in the fourth or fifth, like in her mind, psychogenically?
Well, like I said, I'll take anything they'll hand to me, but no, I do want. I would prefer the third dimension, physical, biological, like what I consider real to me.
That's what everybody wants, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, sometimes that's not what we're getting. And
Yeah.
the majority of the contact that through our investigations, from what I'm learning, is psychogenic in the mind.
Yeah.
As someone who's in biology, is it
Biochemistry.
biochemistry? Is there a way to explain how human beings might be able to communicate telepathically with extraterrestrials?
Well, yeah. I mean, there is such a thing as telepathy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, scientists don't like to use that word.
So you're saying there is, as if there's fact to that.
Yeah, but it's a question of, with scientists, it's always a question of definitions,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's where, like, they don't like the word telepathy because it implies something mystical, right? In some way, like ESP, things like that. But we are, for example, building brain-computer interfaces using EEG, electroencephalograms, right? That's brain waves that are being detected and translated using software. So is that telepathy? Right. It's a way for the brain to, and then you communicating. We can communicate with other people. We can make sentences and images, and
I would say so by definition, right? So telepathy is the paranormal or psychological word. But if you remove that and look at the science behind it, then that's the same
we're
thing.
able to do some crazy stuff. Like I was reading research recently, and we keep getting better at interfacing with the brain, with the human brain and its way of thinking. We're able to interpret using EEG, and that's been. I mean, there are game controllers that are using that now. I mean, it's not complicated. Like, and that was like when I was teaching at a university. That was probably 10 years ago. My fourth year students were using EEG as a game controller in games as a fun experiment.
Wow.
It's not. This is simple now, and I use it. I can control using my mind. Right.
So, but then there has to be another device connected to another human in order for the connection to work, right?
Well, you're talking about both ways, right? Like, so if it's a software in a game that's interpreting, the other piece is that, well, can we insert information on because that's the other way around, right? And over the past few years, and one specific experiment just a few months ago from. Again, when I talk about research, it's real science, not just somebody talking about something or claiming they're a scientist. So just bear with me.
This is why we get along. We think the same. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, so they experimented with memory because they were curious to see if they were able, because for many years we were able to kind of trigger the motor neurons using wavelengths, like a reverse EEG, if you would, and see if it worked. And we were able to have some success with that. So they were curious to see if they could imprint memories. This is the more recent research into subjects. It's non-invasive. It's like a wavelength, and then it's with an impression that is supposed to represent that in neuron form, if you would. Again, it's kind of reverse engineering the perception, but shooting it back in essence, right? Without an implant, by the way, because we can do a lot of really cool things with implants and paraplegics and things like that. And the fun thing is, I think it's brilliant because I'm a scientist and I don't think about bad things people can do with things sometimes. But the people that had an inclusion of memory and didn't know whether or not that memory was theirs already or was implanted, they couldn't tell the difference. Okay, and that's kind of normal. That's not a surprising result. That last bit, but we're able to implant. So that means we're able. At some point, we'll be able to efficiently do bilateral communication with an intermediary of amplifiers. But that indicates that since we can do it with amplifiers, and the brain is very flexible for interpretation, it's entirely possible that some people are able to send and receive and perceive. And if an ET civilization is trying to contact with us, they may be amplifying signals and sending stuff directly into our brain. We know that's possible, and through technology, through our own technology. So why not using ETs? Telepathy with ETs technically is a thing that is entirely possible.
So you could scan telepathy in the brain with wavelengths.
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah.
We can detect what people are thinking or doing to a certain degree with training.
So
and we can implant memories and things like that too.
The risk analysis hat kind of came on a little bit there, because I'm thinking, all right, the science exists, and you're testing on subjects and to prove that it's possible. Are your subjects aware that you're doing this?
I don't remember the details of that experiment, but I'm sure they either signed disclosures or they were informed.
Well, that's good. So it's good in this experiment that they are aware that this is the procedure that's going to happen. Now, put on the conspiratorial hat. I mean, the science exists. Is it not possible for that science to be used even today without the intention or without the knowledge of the host? How far does this go? Do they have to be in the same room? Can they go across the other side of the world, like remote viewing?
No.
How far?
You have to have a cap on or something, direct contact with the head, so you would notice. At least you would be asked to wear something. Is
it possible without the equipment, though? Can we not communicate with each other without?
With increased sensitivity. And this is not tomorrow, but in a bit, right? And I can't predict, because everything's accelerated with tech, right? And how advanced. Potentially, you could have an emitter or transmitter in the room, and everybody in the room could be targeted for sending and receive. Which, on a positive side, it means you could have access to the internet directly through your mind without a handheld device in your pocket at all. On the negative use side of it, like mass delusions, control, confusion about like what do you remember, what's real, what's not. I mean, just like any other technology, the use of it can be absolutely beneficial and exciting, and the misuse of it can be mind-bogglingly terrible.
A lot of people speculate and conspiracize that was the purpose of these 5G towers. There's your transmitter. So it's just interesting, because like the science, so it's good for the advancement of human civilization and technology, but yet it's also that fear comes into where these possibilities come in, like the great power comes great responsibility. And those things are real. So if human beings are able to make contact through these devices and stuff, if experiencers, I know you're not an experiencer yourself, but I've spoken to many people who generally do have experiences telepathically, or at least in their mind. Do you think it's possible that maybe this technology is being used by humans instead of extraterrestrials, and there might be some confusion there? Or is it a bit of both? Or because some people are checking in to some signal that it's out there. We're looking for explanations as to how or whom. But what you've just basically explained, that it's possible. So now we need to know, okay, it's possible, but now who? Right? Because
we're not that different, Ryan, because one thing that I don't mention a whole lot, because my pedigree is too long, like my experience, I was in security for 3 years at a pretty high level in Canada, at the Supreme Court of Canada, in fact. I was second in command of the civilian division.
They just keep coming. Are you MIB? I'm going to ask you live right now. You Men in Black, tell me right now.
I don't wear a black suit. I don't have one. I
need to know this right now. Clear the air.
No.
All right.
No, just general location security. Nothing fancy.
No, I got you.
But I understand. I do think that way too, basically, because you do think about what's the downside, how could it be misused.
You think about the people too, right? Like it's protecting the people, the humanity. Same idea.
Well, exactly. We want to reach that golden age, to me, and it falls right back into the same point where we're talking about contact, right? Like we're at a juncture technologically, and how we understand how we can manipulate ourselves. You can talk about genetics too, because that's my specialty, is really genetics. And I could freak you guys out just with that, and it's not really, forget GMOs. I mean, that's nothing. Okay, like there's stuff we could do now that is not discussed because it would freak people out. The mRNA tech is really exciting, and that's kind of like an indicator of where we're going with the vaccine. But the applications are very, very varied, and they can be just like everything else can heal a lot of people, but
in the wrong hands, yeah.
In the wrong hands, you can do like some amazingly terrible things. But it all goes back to, we have this capability, with the mind thing, the BCI, with the genetics and all that stuff, to transform our civilization in good or bad ways, right? And it's, as we go forward, if we think about it in a negative tone, it's becoming more and more dangerous as we understand, as we develop capabilities in the wrong hands and so on and so forth. Simultaneously, we can build, basically, like, that's why I wrote my book in 2018. I published. It's like I could see the positive side of things even before it started happening. Certain things started happening. We can create basically a world where no one needs to work at all and have abundantly anything they need without concerns with the environment. It would take a lot of work and a lot of changes. Okay, it's not an immediate like flip a switch, but we have everything we need to, like, you could have a home. This is a kind of the futurist part of me. You could have a home right now that produces all its clean water from the air directly, and it would be powered by the sun. Okay, all you need is a box and a specific material called metallo-organic framework. Okay, well, and there's different classifications of that. You can generate your own power at your home. You can potentially recycle a lot of stuff. And using 3D printing and more advanced version of 3D printing, you can molecularly, recycle your waste back into useful things. We're not there yet, but that'll come. You can essentially decentralize a lot of things that are currently centralized and very wasteful. But the key point is that with all this power that we have, because of understanding and technology, we're still dumb. Right? We're not wise, is what I mean. And to survive this, we need to develop that wisdom.
Right.
Because we can't decide, we will just take the good advancement of the control of infinity, and for sure we'll never touch the bad things. No. When we discovered nuclear energy, like, I know that's an overused example, but
that's good. But it could
we
also
understood
be bad.
more about the atom. That was great.
It's good when it's good. It's bad when it's bad. Yeah.
Right. It's all that story. And as we move forward, we can do a lot more. Like, I can.
We need more good people doing good things. That's
in a culture. And what I write a lot about is that I boiled it down to one simple thing that we have to do for humanity to avoid most of these terrible outcomes. Right. So we need to remove what is strictly called chronic stress from our society. So the difference between normal stress and chronic stress is persistent and constant, right? For example, somebody that is always looking for the next meal constantly, his body is his whole system, his neural system is activated, creating cortisol, adrenaline in the system, all these drugs that are meant for survivalism. Those drugs make a person antisocial. It's in survival mode, wants to eat. Chronic stress causes that. If you're not in chronic stress, it's the parasympathetic neural system that kicks in, which is dopamine, oxytocin, really nice, fun drugs, right? Right. It makes you calm and loving and friendly and social. And you know what? Naturally, biologically, and there's like an excellent research from Harvard, which I forget the names now, but that research, like, if a person is not under chronic stress, their biggest pleasure they can have in a society is to give to others. Right. So having a society that doesn't have any chronic stress, naturally, without any laws, would naturally try to derive pleasure by giving each other whatever they need.
Mm-hmm.
Just pleasure driven. That's it.
I think that's interesting. That could be that's why we're connecting in the terms of missions, because I know you kept telling me that you really like the vibe, but I didn't really understand why, and now I'm starting to hear it, and I've got goosebumps because I'm feeling it now. I know now. I get it. So we're gonna have to take a commercial break real quick soon, but before we do that, Dave Percella, he had asked a good question there. He's asking your thoughts on gene that allows for pregnancy in humans. He says, I've heard it's not natural to the human genome, but was rather spliced in some time in the distant past. So you have any thoughts or comments on that?
Dave, I have no evidence for that. It's the first time I hear that comment. The way we reproduce genetically, like if you look at the genome itself, it's extremely complex. It's not a single gene that drives it. There's a lot of moving parts. It's interconnected, which brings me to an important point that I think it kind of aligns with where you're going with this, but I'm not sure. I'm just going to say it. I would encourage people to read Michael Behe's book on genetics. I forget the name of the book, though. But Michael Behe, if you read, like Dr. Michael Behe, and he came to looking at the complexity of life and exactly how complex it is, he kind of came to the conclusion at the end that there must have been a designer involved, which is a very interesting conclusion for a scientist to make. And there is of course, a series of arguments and studies and observations and so on that are on the molecular and genetic level. It just tells you that there is definitely a lot of complexity, which may indicate because you can't straight out say, well, it's aliens or something like that, because there's no evidence of that either, right? He just says, well, it's probably not random, basically, is his conclusion, right? There must have been, if it's not random, then it must be not random.
Right.
Which means there must be a hand in there somewhere. And of course, the Christians and the religious people really loved the comment because it validated the presence, well, there's a God or things like that. But I feel there's probably a more simple explanation than some immaterial creature that is omniscient and somehow weird things happen. Anyway, given the decent evidence of presence of extraterrestrials on Earth, or at least an advanced civilization in the past, at the very least, there's reasonable evidence of that. And if you see the visitations, if they are extraterrestrials, they're obviously more advanced than us, and therefore they may have visited in the past, and so on and so on. Perhaps ETs could be those designers, or at least had a hand in it. Whether or not we were not able to have children and then they were spliced later, that's way too specific for us to have any kind of evidence on it.
Okay.
I hope that at least gives you clues to do a further.
No, it's a good question. Like I know Dave is another member of the Experiencer Support Association. He's he's an astrologist for us as well. He's also, I believe, he does have a background in biology too. So I feel like that was a mono question there. So that was kind of good. I like that. So we're going to pause right here, but we'll be back after we'll continue after a message from our sponsors. If you're listening to the audio only version, head over to youtube.com/the Experiencer Support Association so you can see the video that goes with this audio. You are listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, a podcast by the Experiencer Support Association, and we will be right back.
It's your business. It's your property. Your assets are worth protecting. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services specializes in patrolling and inspecting residential or commercial property against fire, theft, vandalism, terrorism, and illegal activity. People and buildings are monitored to prevent crime. Keep your property, your people, and your assets safe from threat. Our elite staff are dual licensed private investigators and security guards. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services. Go to blacklightiss.com.
The same thing that draws aliens to our planet is the same thing that draws us to others. Exploration, curiosity, sustainability of life. That's why we go. It would make sense as to why they're visiting here.
Travis! Quit playing around, man. Get back here. Travis!
The last thing I remember was this numbing shock. Stunning sort of a feeling. Very powerful.
Get away from me!
I was just out of my mind with fear, just screaming the whole time.
It's been theorized that aliens prefer remote areas because they don't want to attract attention. Whatever it is that they're doing, they would want to do that in a less populated area. There are multiple accounts of the same thing from people from all over the world. People that do not know each other, do not live in the same cultures, and they're all looking up, they're all seeing things in the sky. So it would be naive of us to think that
Ryan is one of Canada's leading new UFO investigators. He conducts and oversees UFO investigations on a constant basis and was really taken by his research. He's compiled a tremendous amount of data regarding UFOs in Canada. And just as interesting, he really goes over how UFO investigations are done and what are some of the mistakes that people make when they submit evidence. Note for starters, don't edit your videos or photos before you send them. If you want to hear more follow-up conversation between Ryan and myself, you can go to richardolanmembers.com, where we have a candid conversation on ufology, the paranormal, and more. And remember, while we learn and grow and search for the truth, let's be good to each other.
Welcome to the Observation Deck, a state-of-the-art, one-of-a-kind virtual platform that takes video conferencing to the next level by using avatars to navigate a campus, just like you would in real life. First, you install the application and design your very own unique avatar. Then you're free to explore the various areas of the campus at any time from anywhere. There's so many areas and activities to choose from on the platform. There's a 1,000-seat auditorium, a large expo hall, a movie theater, a nightclub, an art gallery, and even a beach. Come attend a conference or take a class or hear a lecture. Meet new friends and interact directly with presenters. It's all right here on the incredible Observation Deck campus. Where in the world will you go?
Have you ever wondered, or maybe just thought to yourself, if there were others just like you? You know, people with extraordinary abilities, psychogenic advancement, and perhaps unique intuitions. Maybe you just wondered if there were other people who experienced unimaginable, unexplained, or even unusual and paranormal events. Are there people who have more questions, more fears than answers? Well, you're not alone. You've never been alone. We believe you. Sign up for EA today by going to tesacan.org/EA. That's TESACAN.org/EA. Welcome back. You are listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. Did you know that we have a private community chat for YouTube members? It's on our YouTube channel, obviously. If you become a member, you will get bonus content like exclusive videos, including bloopers. Sometimes you get them live here, behind the scenes, and members-only Q&A. Also, if you've ever experienced an unexplained event involving the paranormal, UFOs, extraterrestrials, dogman, or any other paracryptid, head over to tesacan.org/reporting system. Let the others who have already reported be that example that proves that we are making a difference. And if it wasn't for these reports, we would not be able to do what we do. And for that, thank you. So I am still here with Sylvain. You can say your last name. And how did I do? I saw your head go back and you were laughing. Like, did I botch that?
No, I think you're fine. Sylvain Rochon is very French. It's French Canadian.
That's exactly how I said it. It sounds like perfect.
Yeah, you did great. I'm imitating you.
Yeah. Oh, great. Thank you so much. So for those of you who might have, I'm just going to play this again, but I snuck in another little video here, and then I'm going to ask Sylvain what this is all about when we come back. So I'm going to play it one more time for those who might have missed it. I just snuck this in. Watch. So this is a conference. Tell us about this, and what is the plan?
Well, yeah, it's the first conference specifically for that's organized by the Alliance, right? And the purpose of it is to gain more visibility to the diplomatic community. So for ambassadors, diplomats, and world leaders, because we are in contact with many, right? Because one of the criteria is that we have to have extraterritoriality, and the land must be, for that, the land by law, by rule from the UN, the Vienna Convention of 1961, I believe I have the year right, is that a country has to give the land and make it extraterritorial, which means this land belongs to another nation, and it's kind of declared, right? So we need to talk with nations, and we have been sending a specific brochure, and I know Ryan, I sent it to you. You can show the cover of it. It's a brochure we sent to all nations of the world in 2019, right? And it's basically a business plan, because governments think of things as in regarding economy and tourism and things like that. So it's written as hey, give us the extraterritoriality of the first ET embassy on Earth, and that's going to draw a lot of tourism, a lot of business, and so on and so on. Like, because it is for them, it's a risk for a lot of countries, because they don't really think the way I do, and some of us that want to to have this work and to be welcoming. So we sent that over, and we have been in discussion with several leaders of different nations that have some interest. Now, they are not revealing themselves to the general public, so we can't talk about them. Okay, so don't ask. I can just tell you there are more than one. Okay, and they're not in Canada. For those of you who know us who are in Canada, Canada's not one of them. This I know. So we did that. So the conference itself is kind of like a first showcase, like a serious discussion in an attempt to popularize the idea of the ET embassy itself. And the secondary aspect of it is to gather together all sorts of organizations. And Tessa's definitely going to be invited and be there and participate. We
were saving that for the end, but all right, get in.
No, we're going to talk about other things in the end.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know.
Surprise.
Yeah, but there's a bunch of other organizations definitely will be there. So it's an occasion for the organizations also to meet. We're going to be using a virtual platform, because you never know with COVID and things like that. So don't want to miss with that. And it's our first conference, so we'll do that like virtually for the first one. And we'll have like an international law expert talk about it. We're going to have a big reveal of the actual plans, like the new ones, because